was, in many respects, and we point out that it was a distortion of the genuine ideas of democratic socialism and Marxism. But for many workers and youth around the world, it was an ideological and economic alternative to Western capitalism and U.S. capitalism. The post-World War II period was a time of revolution and counter-revolution. You would have the Chinese Revolution in 1949. You have Cuba in 1959. The Algerian Revolution from 1954 to 1962. Many of these revolutions was rooted on the peasantry and using the tactic of guerrilla warfare. In many ways, it was these revolutions that helped shape the consciousness of a new generation that was coming to Earth. And we're thinking of the Black Panther Party. Then we had the United States on our other side, now the most preeminent capitalist nation in the world, coming out of over 10 years of the Great Depression. An economic, military, cultural, political superpower. And most of the United States working class and middle class were doing quite well. But that was because of the social struggle on the ground by working class people to fight for their rights for better wages, health care, and unions. I'm thinking of the 1930s and 40s and the great general strikes. But despite the claims of democracy and freedom, the working class and poor, and particularly the black working class and poor, were living the American nightmare. Most people think of Jim Crow as a racial, as a Southern construct. But like Malcolm X said, as long as you're south of the Canadian border, you're South. And so we're talking about a Jim Crow America, a racial apartheid. Of course, the Black Freedom Movement gave birth to the Civil Rights Movement, ending Southern apartheid, breaking the back of the aristocracy of the former planter class. It ushered Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act. But what is missing, and what Malcolm X, what Robert F. Williams pointed out, organizations like the Revolutionary Action Movement and SNCC, Students for a Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, had pointed out that civil rights did not do anything to break the back of police violence, poor housing, massive unemployment in the urban centers of the United States. In many ways, even Dr. King had to draw the conclusion that Black America in the urban areas were internal colonies, denied political representation, economic exploited, and cultural subjugated. And then Watts explodes in 1965. A young man is stopped at a traffic light by the police. It would explode with 34 people dead, over 1,000 wounded, 4,000 people arrested, causing over $40 million in property damage. It was one of the most explosive urban rebellions that we would have in U.S. society. The Black Panther Party would be born 1 year later, October 1966. And Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale, students at Merritt College, who were already engaged in struggle on the question of Black studies. And we know that they're taking away Black studies around a number of campuses around this country. And so they took the image of the Panther from the SNCC campaign in Loudoun County, Alabama, to form an independent Black party. They rested on the question that we should have control over our community and that the police was running rampant, killing a young man by the name of Denzel Duell. That traffic lights were not in the community to slow down speeding cars. Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton used the question of armed self-defense that Robert F. Williams advocated in 1957. And they used the California state law that allowed citizens to carry weapons in broad daylight. It would be 1 year later, in 1967, and the Mumford Bill, which struck the law, rendering the Black Panther Party armless in many respects. By the way, that bill was supported by the NRA, if we think about today's discussion around gun control. The Black Panther Party was influenced by Frantz Fanon, or Che Guevara, or Mao Zedong. But who was the architect for them? Who was the father of the Panther Party? Malcolm X, who would be assassinated 1 year before February 21st, 1965. And in many respects, the Black Panther Party drew the conclusion that most revolutionary fighters